Come on. Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday morning, about 9:30. Before I forget, how do you make these videos, John? Do you, no, you want to know the truth? I did some of my computer work and my morning stuff, and I was going to review some of the verses for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be, God willing, teaching on the verses for the Catholic Mass for tomorrow's date. Today is Today is Saturday after the Thanksgiving of 2018. How about I put it that way? And so I was laughing for about 20 minutes. I got done doing my work, started laughing. I said, am I going to make a video? So I didn't really get to review. I'll review those scriptures. Why was I laughing? The term "off you go to the pokey" came into my mind. There were jokes over the years and about people getting arrested. This is kind of a funny one. I'll share it. My dear mom, here's a picture of my mom and dad sitting in a house there in New Jersey, close to the Southern District of New York prosecutors, Mr. Markle. You say, John, we're not in that district. Correct, we understand that. But when you have such corruption, sometimes you can refer things and say, look, we got so many problems. Can you maybe have the Justice Department take a serious look at this? That's what we are discussing. So I could imagine some of the, not all of them, but some of the criminal cops are probably saying, does he really expect us to be accountable for the crimes we have committed? The criminal ones that have done multiple. Does he expect us to go off to the pokey? This is what we expect as a community. Whether you have a badge or whether you're a civilian, you walk in righteousness. Yesterday I took a little ride, and I noticed there was a law enforcement vehicle just sitting on the side of the road, not moving. And as soon as I passed, then he decided to move. Okay. And I was doing the speed limit. And then he goes all the way to the left lane, passes me up, and slows down beneath the speed limit again. Whether he was targeting me, which is hazardous. They do that because they dare people to pass them on the right. This was going out on a highway called Highway 37. They do that so much here in this community. Oftentimes, most of the public will tell you that are riding these roads, sometimes you'll see, why are all the cars going below the speed limit, whatever it is, right, the 3-lane roads, because this cop car in the left lane purposely going below the speed limit, daring somebody to pass them. Kids, criminals, that element. It's also dangerous. I was coming back from Kingsville Fire Department once, many years ago, and I had a Datsun 280ZX. It was a used car. I even changed the motor in that car with a homeless friend. He helped me. I had another Datsun 280ZX on the side just for parts, and I bought it just to get the rims off of it. And I blew the motor on the one I bought for like $900, you know, a used car. Blew the motor, and my friend Larry, he's not around anymore, but he was homeless. He said, John, let's take the motor out of that other one. I don't have the tools to do something like that. He was really smart. He was like an engineer, Larry, but he was homeless. He built, look, I wouldn't have been able to do it myself. In the garage doorway, I think my wife still has pictures of it, built like a homemade motor mount jack. Mechanics have them. You can pull motors out. I don't have that. He reinforced it with like a 2x8 or 2x12, used a chain and a bumper jack to pull the motor out. Then we pushed the carcass out, pushed the other one in, and put it in. It was a little more work because we're doing it like that, and got that motor in there. I'm coming back from Kingsville once. And I come in, I think it was way out Weber or Staples, one of the main streets where you come into town. Sure enough, a cop in the left with CCPD in the left lane, way below the speed limit. Another one of those. Just in the left lane below the speed limit. They had a boring day, I guess. And I'm in the car, doing the speed limit. Nobody wants to pass him. And I saw him on the right, doing even a few miles below the speed limit. I just pass him. Lights on, siren. Kid, you're not sure if he put the sirens. Yeah, I think he did. Lights on, pull this son of a bitch over. They're just kids, criminals playing games. That's so hazardous. No cause for a pullover. After all these unjustified murders and killings throughout this country, that Sandra Bland and everything, you'd think you would finally learn how to do what is right and just. Now, as he walked, cop, CCPD, as they walk up to my vehicle, I got off duty and was still in uniform. Hey, come on. The fuck does this guy think he is? Looks in the vehicle, thinks I'm another cop. We had the dark blue fire department. Over the years, we changed different uniforms, and oftentimes they do look like cop uniforms. He thought I was a cop. Maybe from another town. Soon as he runs back to, what a disgrace. And that's not the first time that's happened. I could give you multiple occasions where that's happened. These are illegal pullovers. So yesterday, when I was on 37, sort of going out to Cal Allen, where you saw me make the video, that law enforcement vehicle pulled all, then slows down. Of course, I was still doing the speed limit. And on that road, it's 75, but I might have been doing 70 or whatever. And then I noticed, whether he knew my vehicle or not, I don't know. And there was a red car in front of us, and look, we were all on that road for a little bit of a, 10-mile stretch. There was no cause, because I kept my eyes on him, obviously more so than maybe the other. Then, lo and behold, it speeds up, puts his light, and way in front of us, there was a red car. And I noticed, pulled him over, lights on, get out the vehicle. That red car did nothing, because I was there the whole time. It was somebody that was having a slow day and said, let me fuck with the public. Off to the pokey means this. That element of you have been so unaccountable. And as God is my witness, the cases I shared with you, the bank robbery thing, I'm not positive on. But the cases I personally know about are all true. And those are multiple felonies over a period of many years. And people get tired of that shit. And you do all you can. So, if we have a just resolution to the corruption in Corpus Christi, some of you, yes indeed, will go off, if you will, to the pokey. But you will do everything you can to not only cover up the crimes you commit, but to go after the people that you have committed those crimes on. Do you know what a crime it is? To assault a civilian, and you targeted him, and that's a history of that. Multiple. And then to put him on notice after the multiple assaults, targetings, beatings, and everything else. Put him on notice. Don't you dare. Do you know how disgraceful that is? Do you know how disgraceful that is? This will be the true story, Mr. Markle. I have a friend that knows a chief. And they know I do try to expose things, and I don't get too much involved in the neighborhood squabbles he's had, because he's a neighbor to the chief. But then he knows I talk about issues, and so he had a whole thing going on with the code enforcement. They wanted him to take down his fishing pier. The chief used to rent out the house that's in the neighborhood. It's right off Laguna Shores and Flower Bluff, Stewart Street. And so the chief used to rent out his house to, I think, other cops and all. But when he became chief, they wanted him to move back into the city. He might have been living in the country somewhere. So he came back, oh, chief's my neighbor again, and he knows the chief. So they had the squabbles. They reported whether he thinks maybe the chief. But I do remember an incident reported to me. And I believe it's true. And it might have had something to do with personal things. But that the chief had come. This was before he was chief now. This is not since I don't believe he was chief at the time. It was a personal thing. It wasn't a big thing. But he showed up with other cops. He was on duty. And just kind of made a threat to do with personal stuff. And the chief was mad. If you ever... And I said, he should have never came on duty with other cops. Because that puts a citizen on notice. This is me and my posse. And he told me he was mad. Now, this is the part he kind of thought I would maybe mention one day. That's when I found out the chief used to be a tough guy, bodybuilder, Mr. Texas. I didn't know anything. And he said he had roid rage. I think he wanted me, my friend eventually wanted me to say roid rage. Roid rage. Whether all of that is true or not, I don't know. But you certainly have officers on your department that have crossed so many lines that are felonies, And you know it. And your department even told the victims, we promise that officer will never do a certain thing to you again, never cross the line again. Now, what do you think the victims think? I don't walk around with a gun, nor do I carry a gun. And you got these same people that have targeted, threatened, and beat the shit out of people, while cops still packing heat. And you say, why were you so tough, John, on the murder of Du Bois Lister? Because if you know that there's people that are in that department that targeted other people, and they still continue to have that roid rage, if you will, they're unsuitable to be walking around like that. To have a network where they dispatch, and I only gave you a few of those. And they call, they get in, they go to work in the morning, they think it's their toy. They do not live up to the standards of even legality. Because they've been here for so long. It's like their game. When I went to the firehouse, 25 years doing that, checking the trucks, it's like your home. You go to a place of employment for 25 years, you're comfortable with it. Now, we didn't commit crimes like the CCPD does. But then you realize you could skirt it. One of the things that my friends used to tell me, the times that the Xanaxes were planted, bumping him with the cop car, falling down in an alley. They laugh. They said, it's so obvious, John. I even ran into a homeless friend once, and he said, I won't give the name. He's still around, and he lays low. He's a good friend. He needs to get educated. And maybe 8 months ago, sometimes I see him when I'm doing my walks. And he was just talking, and good friends. He said, you think the law dogs, the CCPD, you think they finally have become more professional, Joe? Not a snide comment. He said, you think they finally got away from... Everybody knew that it was almost like they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe how. And I put that blame on, first of all, when you have those cops committing felonies throughout a history and a period of time, and you all know it. And then you recognize, and when there's even people in the community that were not connected to my homeless friends, meaning not the whole, and even they would say, officers they knew or whatever. That cop's committing many crimes. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. You say, oh, the chief is going to either quit, see your videos, and he's going to come after you like he did your friend Don. And say, don't ever fuck with us again, Mr. Said it to my other friend with cops. I wouldn't put it past you, Mr. Markle. If a citizen made even one threat, one assault, one beating, one hitting with a vehicle that your officers have done multiple times, their asses would be in prison. And yet we have to sit in this community. And that incident yesterday, whether or not that officer recognized me, I don't know. But I knew damn well that just pulling over that red vehicle, and then I watched it, I passed it up. There was no cause for that. Just like the example I gave in my Datsun 280ZX. And you might say, yeah, that's just we'll talk to the guys. That's just one little thing of a mentality that says, we will cross the line. I was shocked. My dead friend Huey, who gave me the shrimp, I saw it, the other day I looked at it. I don't know if you could see it. My dead friend Huey Martin, may his death testify to your corruption today. One day I've known him, he was homeless for many years. And that same bastard criminal cop still on the ranks. I remember, he said, I ever see you in this town again, to Huey, I just arrest you on the spot. No cause, no reason, nothing. And so he left to Port Aransas for a while. And when he told me these stories, these were men, so when he left to Port Aransas, he said, but John, Flower Bluff was my home. Of course, he told me this many years ago. He passed away a few years ago. He said, how did that cop, the same cop, you all know the criminal cops. You all know it. You laugh your asses off about it. That's the disgrace you are. And as soon as he seen him get in the cop car, picked him, went to jail for 5 days. But Huey honestly asked me, how could they do that? And I told them, they lie. They make a quick thing. We got them for PI. We got them for, it's like their toy. It's like their game. And then, okay, we dismiss. They are playing games in this community. And then I remember the stories. I had many videos. This is the testimony that some officers requested sexual favors. And that was more than once reported to me. More than once. And the testimony, and I know the person would never want to say it, but I heard the woman, a friend of mine, say it once, when an officer pulled up to Timmins. And she said, that cop makes those guys give him blowjobs in the cop car. And I have videos still on YouTube that talk about that. Now, if it's true or not, but here's your little insight, corrupt PD. I made videos about it, mad. And then, you want your insight? My friend Huey, I can tell more of it because he's dead. He's friends with that cop, like some of my other friends. They know each other for years. And they all know that an element of them are so criminal. So I made the video. I said, look, I'm not judging anybody's sexual lifestyles. I said, but if you're making them do it, and if it isn't the cop car, that's a disgrace. And those videos are still on there. Now, how do I know it wasn't? There was some credence to it. Just a few days after that, maybe a week after I discussed it, what a disgrace you guys are. What a disgrace. I can't even begin to describe what a disgrace you are. Huey came by a few days later. because he'd come by. I think there was an ex-wife of his older brother, David, who's still alive, and Andy is still alive. Those are the three brothers, Andy, David, Martin, and Huey. And so Huey came by, and sometimes he would, because the ex of David, her name was Shell, she used to live in Turtle Cove. But Huey would, my friends sometimes would come by, my homeless friends, ring the bell. And Huey was one that used to do that. And, oh yeah, come in, Huey. And he kind of, like, indicated that things of that nature, at least in that particular thing I discussed, were somewhat like, consensual. He did it in a gracious way, okay? I got friends in various lifestyles. I'm not trying to... But I thought, what a disgrace that you guys function like that. What a disgrace that you function like that. That it was common knowledge, and people learned, particularly homeless people, learned in the street, and you all knew about all of these things. That's why when I see the chief, because he's a long-time CCPD person, and then I hear him on these talk shows, and then I say, you guys are lying to this public. You are lying to this public. And and you guys know about it, because I went to your internal affairs about something else, a stupid dumping ticket. Because you lied your asses off. And I was mad that day. And I said to him, you got cops breaking every fucking law under the book out there. Connected with gangs, criminal. What else do you have? What else do you have? I said, well, I'm not here to give you everything else. That was not about why I went. I went about their stupid dumping ticket. And you can't even control your own criminals. Why don't you let the public know about that? So John, because the chief threatened your friend with violence over an incident where you told your neighbor, don't you ever come to that fucking door again when I'm not home, knocking on the door, ringing the bell. And you're in uniform, and you want to go to court, he'll have to testify to court, because you already pressured him enough. You say, well, we have our own individual. You don't use the badge and the uniform. A man says, you got a disagreement, you're going to settle it. And if it comes down, me and my friends ain't running around with guns. You all are carrying them 24/7 with the history like I just expressed the last 3 days. And half of the guys that received abuse over these years, they don't want to say nothing. Because they've told me multiple times, then they'll come after us. So what you got is sort of like a personal vendetta game to silence the people. To silence the people that have been abused, brutalized, and everything else. Because they know, oh, so-and-so will put a Xanax on me again. Or how can he pick me up? Because they don't obey the law. There's an element of cops getting paid, bankrupting the city, that are constant lawbreakers. Constant. Day in and day out. And the way Chief Markle deals with that element is cover it up. And then silence, go after, run their asses off the road, beat their asses. Cops doing that to citizens. And we're sitting in South Texas trying to give some type of a image of what a wonderful place we are. And then the chief on these venues saying we have a much higher standard than other places. I heard him say that. And I think you are lying your ass off to the public. Pure and simple. Now you investigate, you laugh when these things were reported to you. You laugh about it and you know about it. Did you threaten him? Did you go to Don's house off of Stewart Street, Markle, because he rang your bell when you weren't home? And you maybe felt it was something about your wife? And then did you show up, Chief Markle, at Don Winton's house on Stewart Street with other cops and tell him, don't you ever fucking ring that bell again when I'm not home? Resign, Chief. Resign.